And welcome to this week's video segment on the Blank Page to Bestseller podcast. This week, we have a great Biz Buzz lined up for you, and we ask the question to mainly authors, but to anyone who's in the publishing industry, and that question is, how much do you value your time? Both me, Colleen, and KZ talk about the different ways that authors can use different tools and different professionals in the publishing industry to really make sure they are making the most of their time. Whether you're spending more time writing your social media, for example, that you want to put into spending that time writing your book, or whether it's you might need a little bit of help spreading the word about your book in regular marketing, and you kind of think that maybe it's not the best idea for you to spend all of your time learning about how to do that. Or maybe it's book design, where you think that, again, you don't want to spend all of the time learning how to do everything yourself. There are a lot of great tools and a lot of great professionals out there who can help you save your time so you can put your time and effort into the places that really benefit you, your book, and maybe even your potential books in the future. So that's what we talk about in this week's Biz Buzz segment. We also mentioned that we have a summer sizzle sale in the Biz Buzz segment, and I will actually pop on after the video to share a little bit about the summer sizzle sale. But just because of the way that we pulled it from the podcast, we don't have all of that information in this segment. So I'll hop over at the end of this video to tell you a little bit more about that. But if you do enjoy our Biz Buzz segments here on YouTube, you can do a couple of things for us to help us grow our YouTube channel. Number one, be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel. Also, if you have any questions about the Biz Buzz videos, what you hear in our videos, or if you have a question about something related to publishing, related to writing or editing, and don't know where to go, leave us a comment down here in the video. We'd love to hear your questions. We might even feature your question on an upcoming Biz Buzz segment. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, like I said. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the Biz Buzz segments. And as always, you can also find all of our Blank Page to Bestseller podcast on anywhere you get your podcast. So please be sure to check us out in podcast form as well. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to myself to introduce our Biz Buzz segment on our Blank Page to Bestseller podcast. And welcome to this week's Biz Buzz segment on the Blank Page to Bestseller podcast. As always, I am joined by Colleen and KZ, and on this week's Biz Buzz segment, I am going to pose a question to all of you authors, and that is, how much do you value your time? So on today's show, the three of us are going to talk about some ways that authors can save time, or really it's the decision on, do they want to save time? Do they want to save money? Kind of what that all goes into publishing your book. Because as we say, there are probably over 100 different steps to publishing your book. So can you, as an author, do all of those? Yes, but if you want to save some time, some headache, some missteps along the way, there are some professionals who are out there to help you, or you can learn it all on your own. That's perfectly fine as well. But it's kind of that balance between your time and your money, if that makes sense. So I do want to first pose this question to both of you, Colleen and KZ. So, how much do you value your time? KZ, let's start with you because I know you are an active author as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love the way you said that. Can you actually, as an author, do everything yourself? Absolutely. But I truly believe that it's a trade-off. What you're doing, if you are doing it yourself, is you're choosing to either put your own elbow grease into it, or
Mhm.
have someone help you with it. And for me, it's a trade-off of, as a business person, okay, it's not just as an author, but also as a person who's running a business, it's important to look at when you are doing something that someone else could do more efficiently.
Mhm.
And I kind of look at it that way. Now, right now, a lot of what I do as an author, I do myself, and I'm perfectly happy with that. But when I can't do it myself, then I look for assistance to help me
Mhm.
do that. Virtual assistants, in particular, are really a great way to do that. And the other thing I like to point out about this is that when you're looking at what what the value is of your time, you need to actually put a number on that. And then as you're deciding whether or not you can afford to bring in someone to do some of the work, um, look at what you're paying them versus what you're paying yourself.
That's so important. Just as a quick little anecdote, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, I have ventured into the world of Threads. So if you don't know what Threads is, it is Instagram slash Facebook's knockoff of Twitter. I don't really know if knockoff's the right word, but Twitter is not what it's called anymore either. We're not going to get into that, but the it's a very text-based interactive social media platform, mainly through Instagram. And over the time that I've been on there, there is a great community of writers, of authors, of assistants, whether that be, personal assistants, author assistants, marketing professionals, whatever. And I actually today posed this question before we hopped on the recording to see if anyone had any questions. And you know, one thing that I think came across, whether it be through responses to what I have put out there or just responses that I saw in general, is there are a lot of authors out there who do try to take on most, if not all, of the tasks that it takes to publish, like you do, KZ. But one thing that I do think I see very commonly is authors bemoaning the fact that it may take 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to do some small task. Like I saw someone today post, I can't believe I've spent over 2 hours trying to create a Facebook banner. And I don't know about any of you, but I know many graphic designers or social media marketers can churn out social media banners in pretty short order. So, is that time really worth it to you, or is it easier and quicker to get your book out there if you work with someone who has the skills and the knowledge to really churn out what is going to, in the end, be or maybe not more beneficial, but as beneficial as what you would turn out? Yeah.
Exactly. I believe that's really true, Peter, because take book design, for instance, the interior book design. That's something that can take a lot of time to do. And I can remember trying to do that a long time ago to help a client. And I just don't know a lot about that yet. I would like to start learning about, how to do interior design. But it took me forever trying to help this author to just make a few changes. And then it was crazy. So I can't imagine if I'd have been the author trying to do that, how much it could have taken someone who is skilled to do that to do it in such a short amount of time, to save the author so much more time that they could be writing, doing their marketing copy or their marketing plan, something like that. And just not knowing it, but trying to do it all yourself is just not, for me, feasible.
I think for most people, Colleen, you're right. It's not entirely feasible. And there's another element to this too. I love what you brought up there. That is that's just one element. Book interior. It's a great example. I mean, most of the writers that we know, especially just starting out, probably work in Microsoft Word or a program similar to that, a basic word processor. Well, I'm here to tell you that that word document does not translate into a book. and it needs to be formatted. And if you don't know how to do it, then that's something that you either pay to do, or you find out how to do it. And
Hmm.
that's kind of where I think the fine line is drawn. Is um, you need to know enough about what the process is so that you know whether or not it's right, or you should, whether you should or shouldn't hire someone to do it. So first step is probably to educate yourself.
That's so important. And one thing on that too is before we jump too into the education side of things, because I think that is very important what you brought up. But one way that I kind of think about authors, especially authors who want to self-publish, is as someone self-publishing, you are the publishing house. And can you think of the many different people that are in a traditional publishing house? You have editors, you have marketers, you have sales professionals, you have interior layout people. So there are a lot of different hats that authors can wear, but there's also a lot of hats that authors do not have to wear because they can work with people in the publishing industry who may have um, who have more experience and can turn out projects in a either a quicker timeline, a more professional timeline, maybe, or just in a way that can more positively affect your book.
Yeah. And I want to bring something up, and this keeps coming back to me, and you two can let me know if you agree or disagree. But even if the author decides they want to do it all themselves, that's great. But we all know how much time it takes and how many tasks are involved when you self publish your book. And if you want to do all that yourself, you know, a project manager is somebody that could keep you on track. Does that make sense? That could save you a lot of time of even making mistakes. And when I say a project manager, I mean, a certified publishing professional, author assistant, that can help you knows the steps, but then they could just project manage it for you. Does that make sense for you guys?
Oh, yes, that makes perfect sense. And I love the way you've said that your certified publishing professional, whatever part of the process you're hiring them to do, is essentially your project manager. They're managing that part of the project.
Mhm,
And I always think of my books as a project.
mhm,
One of the things that I've recently, an aha moment that I've had recently as an author, is that it takes a set amount of time and a set amount of tasks to get my book to the point that it's ready to publish and get it published. And then there's also an identical or an even more extensive set of tasks and processes that have to be followed to keep the book marketed and
mhm.
begin to grow the readership of that book. So it's not just what the author needs to get started; it's what the author needs to continue to build the business.
That's so important. I love how you use the word business there because I think that's, one of our big taglines as well. It's why we call this the Biz Buzz segment because we as authors, as writers, should remember to focus in on the business of being a writer. Yes, it's great that we're creating art and we're writing and we're doing what we love, but there's also a business side of how you can turn your story into not just a book, but possibly many books or many different ways to share your story, whether that be writing, whether that be speaking, whether that be going on podcasts like us and getting your word out there. But there's a lot of different ways that the business or a business can affect or can be affected by writing. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I do want to kind of go back just a little bit. KZ, you mentioned the word education on one of your answers a few minutes ago, and you said, authors can really become educated on what they need to do. Um, I I know that we have a few education programs that authors can work through. But what was your idea, your thought behind how authors can educate themselves?
Well, for me, I am a person who enjoys doing the hands-on part of the job, but before I give it away, I learn it. So for me, educating myself means learning the process. I can't determine whether or not I'm going to bring in a person who can do what I want them to do unless I already know what the process is. So I start by learning the process. Okay. And then if necessary, I will teach that process to the person that I hire. Or I will offer them the same classes that I took to learn. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a blatant plug here. Okay. Our summer sizzle is offering two of our signature classes that are ideal for anybody who is already a writer or is not even yet a writer, or anybody who wants to help a writer to succeed. Either way, this is the process actually that I followed, Colleen followed, and Peter, you followed to get
Mhm.
started in this business.
Yeah, these two courses are really what the basis of, or what the author's voice is founded around, is educating people on the proper way to take a book and publish it. I mean, whether you want to decide to go self-publishing yourself and do it yourself, if you want to even look at working with a traditionally published or traditional publishing house, there's a lot of different information, whether whichever way you decide to go. And that's really why we decided the author's voice is what it is because we want to educate, like you said, authors, writers, people who want to work with writers on the proper way to do it. Because I don't know about you two, but I'm sure we've all seen some um, less than less than kind people out there trying to take advantage of authors, and also authors out there who are less than kind to themselves because they put themselves in positions where they don't necessarily know where they're going and how they're going to publish their book, and they kind of come across some missteps and some misadventures along the way. And we really think education is probably the number one way to combat all of that.
Yeah, I think Colleen speaks well to that. She has spoken to us many times of this. And Colleen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. I see you were getting ready to say something.
No, you're fine. And of course, it slipped out of my head as soon as I was thinking it while Peter was talking.
Ethics in publishing.
Well, it is about being ethical, and that is why I love this program and what we're going to be, putting out. We're putting out whatever, but it's about, even if when the author doesn't know what to ask, they don't know what to expect, then people can take in, the unethical places can take advantage of them because they don't know what to ask and they don't know what the proper ethics behind it is, or what we've really focused and learned from this program that we've all taken ourselves, and we know what's right for the author, and it's really important for them to know before they fork out their money, because they should pay for the services, not for the, you know what I'm trying to say,
For the glory.
yeah.
They mean to pay for the services in order to get their goal accomplished.
Mhm.
Right.
And unfortunately, since so many writers start without that skill, without the knowledge of the process, people who are not ethical find them to be an easy target.
Mhm. I think I mean, you can see that in many areas, but one way that I think we all have seen it as an author is if you throw up the hashtag author or hashtag book um, tag on like Instagram or something like that, how many people say, for $500, I can get you in front of 10,000 author or 10,000 readers? And then, the people that are spending that money don't really realize that those 10,000 people may all be bots. They may all be different, or people who are not necessarily interested in their genre, and they just wasted $500 to get 5 sales, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I can give you another example that is, it's a small one, but it's one that will catch up a lot of beginner writers, and that is, recently I posted my my request for book reviews in a group that I hadn't been to before, okay, where I had not posted before. And all of a sudden, I'm being inundated by people who are offering to review my book. Now, I have been around long enough to know that that is not how this works. People don't write to you and ask to review your book.
Mm-hmm.
If they are, they want you to pay them, and that's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And they know it's not allowed, and that is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something very simple, but so innocent seeming that without the knowledge or the understanding of how the process works, many authors, many writers in the beginning will fall for that.
That has actually been a big common discussion that I've seen on threads over the last couple of days is how many people are out there saying I mean, even $25 to read and review your book. I mean, yeah, it may only seem like $25, but that's, not necessarily one, that's not an ethical way to review a book because you have conflicts of interest. And two, like you said, that's against um, I mean, Amazon's terms of service. You can't do that. You can't pay for reviews.
It's against not only Amazon, but every
Hmm.
publishing distribution service out there. It is against their. It's simply against the rules for
Hmm.
any legitimate service that is distributing books.
Yeah, exactly. One thing, I think that I again going back to threads when I posed this question about whether do you work with authors assistants or what professionals are out there that you work with. One person did come and say, you know, they say, and this is a quote from them, I have a few. They're a great resource, especially if you can hire an indie author who already knows the ropes and thus doesn't require further training on the rather random aspects of our business. And they go on to say, obviously, experienced personal assistants, VAs are also great too. And that's so true is because it does feel like there's a lot of randomness in the publishing industry that an author may not think about when they decide to sit down and write their book. But, that's again going back to our education courses, our author assistant courses or author courses is we wanted to create these and take on the not the burden, but take on the um, you know the running of these courses because we do think that there is a need for people who know what they're doing, and that's why we offer these certifications at the end of the courses. So authors, author assistants, personal assistants can go out there and tell authors, hey, not only have I done these things, but I've actually been certified that I know what I'm doing by someone other than myself.
I look for that, Peter. When I'm looking to hire someone to work with me, I look at their work, of course, but I
Mhm,
also look and see what training do they have, what certification do they have, what social proof do they have, um,
mhm,
and and I follow through on that. And I believe that most authors who are taking their book business seriously, are going to look for that same validation. So it
mhm,
behooves you, if you are someone who is interested in helping authors, to get certified, get trained. And it also behooves you as an author, if you are someone who is just getting started, to learn the ropes yourself so you know where the pitfalls
mhm.
are.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I've realized, and I think we've all realized too, is authors are definitely there to help each other, and
Yes.
the community that is in the author world, I think is quite strong. And it's especially recently, authors are out there helping authors. So even if you think, oh, maybe I'm just an author, why do I need to be certified and how to publish a book? Well, I mean, how many people are out there going through exactly what you're doing? It's a great way to expand maybe some of your reach, maybe expand some of your business, like we mentioned before. So having that certification and telling and showing other people that, hey, I've been through this. It's crazy. It's silly. It's quote unquote random, but I know what I'm doing now because I've gone through it myself and I've got the certification. So let me lend a hand in maybe creating that Facebook banner like I mentioned earlier, or let me lend a hand in, you know, putting your book cover together, or whatever that may be. So, there's a lot of good information out there, but there's not always but it's not always easy to know what that good information is.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Mhm.
And I want to say something too, just because, but you know that when you're out there looking, or you're wanting someone to help you, money is important. Don't get me wrong. But just because someone says that they can prove something for 2 cents a word or 1 cent a word, or they can do a book cover for $50 or whatever, the cheapest isn't always the best. And
Mhm.
sometimes you will learn that through experience. Well, most of the time, you will learn that through experience, that it's not always so important to just take the cheapest, or most inexpensive way around things to pay for that professional book you want.
Mhm.
That's a really good point, Colleen, and I totally agree with you. You get what you pay for.
Mhm.
And yep, at the beginning you may be on a shoestring, and you may need to make some choices you wouldn't like to stick with forever, but you need to choose very carefully when you make those
Mhm.
choices. Editing your book is one place you shouldn't skimp, and
Mhm.
book cover is another place you shouldn't skimp. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, can you be the person who sends out all your newsletters? Yep, you can do that. That's a matter of
Mhm.
trading time for dollars. Okay.
Mhm.
But when it comes to trading time for dollars, you need to choose very wisely which places you hire, and which places you dig in with your own elbows.
Yeah, that's so important. I think that's probably the biggest question that an author can have when they're trying to figure out is how much time do I want to sacrifice on my project to do these other things. I'm just throwing this out here, KZ, like you mentioned, can you write all of your newsletters and all of your social media? Yeah, but let's just say you write a 500 word um, newsletter every week. Would that time be better spent putting 500 words into your book per se,
Very good
creating your
point.
story? Yeah.
Yep. And that is a decision that each author has to choose.
Hmm.
And sometimes you have to kind of, compromise with yourself on this. But it is a choice you have to make. Um,
Hmm.
and it is important also for us to recognize that everyone is individual, and this is not a short game.
Hmm.
Being an author, being a writer, being successful, building a business as a writer is the long game. So you make these trade-offs in the beginning. You get yourself educated. You make the trade-offs to do trade dollars for, I think I said it before, and now I can't think of what it was, but you make these compromises with yourself as you grow.
Hmm.
And you have to learn when it's time to let go
Hmm.
of something. And I think you said it, Peter. Is it better for me to spend that time writing 500 words in my book, or 500 words in my newsletter?
Hmm.
That is a compromise that
Hmm.
I tell you, authors have to look at every day.
Hmm. That's so true. And I think the one thing that I always think of as well when I'm talking with authors and things like that is, you know, there's a there's a basis, like a foundation that you can build. And like we've mentioned probably 500 times, when you launch your book, that's not the end of your book. There's a lot of continual things that go on. And if you sit down and you make sure that your book is as best as it possibly can be when you do launch that book, you can really set yourself up for success, not just for that, week or month that it comes out, but long into the future. And a lot of times, in order to do that, you do want to work with, whether it be a marketing professional, whether it be I mean, how many times have we also said a cover can make or break your book?
Oh
So
yeah,
really working to set yourself up for, like you mentioned, long-term success.
And one of the other things we've always said too is everybody can publish one book, but how many people can publish another book because the first book was done not so great?
Yep. Yep. You're building your brand,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts with the first one.
Exactly. I don't know if there's much more to say about this. Colleen, KZ, anything else to add before we wrap up for our listeners?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it pretty well, Peter. It's an important topic, and one that I think every author will see in their own way. So I hope we've covered it well.
Yeah, like we mentioned in our recent book, The Right Way, there's no one right way to go about it as an author, but there are lots of options out there, whether you want to do it yourself and let's just say take our author publishing course that we're offering through the Summer Sizzle Sale, or working with a professional author assistant who may have already gone through this course themselves, who is certified in it, or whether it's you going out and learning it on your own, whatever that may be, or working with a professional. There's no one way to do publishing. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, but there are many options that you do need to weigh as you go through writing, editing, publishing, and marketing as well. So there'll be some more information for our Summer Sizzle Sale, which includes our author publishing course and our speaker platform course, which helps you take your book on the road once it's published, later in the episode. But just as a quick little heads up, there will be a link to the Summer Sizzle Sale down in our show notes. And again, Colleen, KZ, thank you for hopping on today, and hopefully listeners, you've learned a little bit about how you can not necessarily do it all on your own, but work with some people, some professionals, and weigh that decision on whether you're going to trade your time for hours, time for dollars. So thanks again for hopping on today, and we'll be back next week. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we do have a Summer Sizzle Sale now available on our website. The Summer Sizzle Sale combines both our author and our speaker training courses into one bundle. Plus, when you do bundle this in this Summer Sizzle Sale, we're also going to give you our free PR guide to help you spread the word to as many media outlets and social media platforms as possible, so you can hopefully find yourself in front of not just a wide audience, but an audience who really connects with you. And we are also offering a free quick start coaching call in our Summer Sizzle Sale. So you get to hop on with one of us at the Author's Voice to help you make sure that you are really starting in a place that is going to help propel you to success, whether you are a writer, whether you're an author assistant, whatever you might be. Why you're taking this course, we can help you find the right place to start and really reach all of your goals. And then finally, we are also offering a 50% off deal at the end of our Summer Sizzle Sale when we launch our new author training course, which is coming up in the beginning of the fall. Specific dates on that are coming up, but we will give you 50% off that course when it comes out. So we have a lot of great things in our Summer Sizzle Sale, and you can find all of the information about the bundle and all of our courses on our website. You can just visit us at theauthorsvoice.org/summer sizzle. That's theauthorsvoice.org/summer sizzle. We hope that you enjoyed this week's Biz Buzz segment, and as always, we will be back next Tuesday with our Biz Buzz segment from next week. Again, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts about the video, please be sure to leave us a comment, and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to learn more about the Biz Buzz segment and our Blank Page to Bestseller podcast.